Zig structs are not just boring data containers. They're fast, they're explicit, and they're the backbone to some of the most powerful, cleanest code written in modern day engineering. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how Zig structs give you complete control over memory layout, default methods, and even compile time magic without hiding anything from you. We're going to go over the Learning Zig programming language textbook, go into the details of everything Zig struct related, and I'm going to break down everything I learned right now. So I have this example here, which is taken from the chapter. Basically, we create our new struct called user, so our user struct. And in this user struct, it has 4 fields: an ID field, a name field, which is basically a string, an email field, which is basically a string. But again, these are lists of const U8 because Zig doesn't have a native string type. And then it has the subscriber field, which is a Boolean. Now, you may notice something interesting with this first function, init. And basically this is kind of the constructor or the initializer of our user struct. So this is basically how we instantiate a brand new instance of our user struct. So this function init takes in all the parameters that I mentioned before, our ID, name, email, and subscriber. It then returns the user struct as a return value, and then returns user, and we pass in the fields from the actual function arguments. And the thing to note here is actually this dot notation. So you can do dot ID, dot name, dot email, dot subscriber to go into the actual fields of the user struct within the curly braces. Okay, and then you can see here this const u, we're describing our user.init, and we're passing in those fields. So ID is 1, the name is Melkey, the email is melkey@gmail.com, and the subscriber is true. And then if I have this try u.printName, this is a method or a function on the actual user struct itself. And the way Zig handles it is very interesting and I think kind of brilliant. So if I go up into the actual function name, function print name, fn print name, it's defined within the curly braces of the struct. So I don't know if you guys have noticed this when I was talking about the init function, but all these functions are declared within the actual closure or instantiation of the struct itself. So we have this function print name, and the first thing that I want to kind of highlight and showcase your attention is this argument, self user. Now, if you come from Python or JavaScript, you may be familiar with the self or this notation, which is basically a reference to itself, especially more popular with Python, where it actually uses the self keyword verbatim. Now, as I kind of just explained, self is a reference to itself. So you can see here, print name, it takes this argument self, which is this user type, which is the struct itself. And then when we call try standard out print, we're calling self.name, which is going to be the name field within the user struct. So when we call the u print name, again, u is our instance of Melkey, which is just our struct, our user struct. When we call print name and we say self.name, it's going to be the value we passed into the init function, which is now going to be the name field of the user struct. So if I go and I run zig build run, you can see here that we are in fact printing Melkey as we expected to do so. Now the thing is, this doesn't have to be self. You can actually put this, and then over here you can change this from self to this, and if you save this and recompile it, you're gonna get the exact same value, Melkey. And the reason for that is because Zig is smart enough, the compiler and the language itself is smart enough that it actually doesn't bind a keyword this or self or anything else to the actual reference to itself. And that was a pretty complicated sentence to say out loud. However, the thing to make it simple is the first parameter that you pass into a function that's defined within the actual closure, the actual curly brace of the struct, the first argument you pass that is of type user will be in fact a reference to itself. And again, this doesn't have to be self, it doesn't have to be this could be like me. You go here, you can change this dot name, to me. Save, and again, if I recompile this, Melkey. Now what's interesting is what happens if you come into a situation where you have a function that's defined within your user struct, but it actually takes another user. Like let's say you want to print both names of 2 user pairs. What do you do then? Okay, so I went ahead and created a new function called print, let's go print both names, which the highlight here is it takes 2 arguments, a me user, and I kept it me just to make it concise to what I made before, but again, it's gonna be self, this, whatever you want, and then it takes another argument, which is other, which is also a type user. And you can see here I have two prints. One is going to print me.name and the other one is going to print the other user's .name field. But how will this work? So here I'm going to make another user. It's going to be user.init. We're going to put 2. We're going to put Delkey. Here we're going to put Delkey at gmail.com. And just to be different, let's go ahead and say that Delkey is, not fail, false, not a subscriber. Okay, so now if I do try u.printName, the first argument I'm going to put here is u, and then the other one is going to be other u. All right, save this, and if I go back and recompile it, we get an error. The reason why we got that first argument is because I was calling print name instead of print both names. So I changed it to print both names, and when I run it again, you can see I'm still getting an error, but this time it says member function expected 1 argument, found 2. And if we go back, you can see that print both names does in fact expect 2 arguments in the actual function definition, but when we call it, we're passing in 2 arguments. However, if I just change it to this and I save this and I run this, you can now see we get Melkey and Delkey, which is what we expect. So the basics of what is happening here is, again, Zig is intelligent enough to understand that if you are passing it an argument that is a reference type user, that it is going to be an actual instance of itself. So every other following argument is going to be more in the sense of what an actual argument is, in the traditional sense of passing in arguments to functions. And just to demonstrate this even further, I have this function print random name, which does not have that first argument me to a user type or whatever, self, this, again, whatever it could be, and just takes a random argument. And if I go here and I try print random name Felkey, and click Zig run, you can see here print random name is not a member function. No field or member function named print random name in main.user. If I go back and add me, which will be a user type, and save this, it says unused function parameter. So let's just go ahead and copy this and put me.name and then save it like so. If I go back and run this, you can see here now we get Melkey, Delkey, Felkey, and Melkey. So this demonstrates all the functions that you defined as properties, as methods of that struct need to have this first argument, which is a self argument, a reference to itself, to make them work as you'd expect. So if you're coming from Go, another thing you may be thinking about is how do you make some of these methods or actual structs public? And Zig actually has the pub keyword just for that. So if you come from Go, you may think that capitalizing user and capitalizing these function names will make them publicly available from one module to another across your application. However, a lot of people don't really like that syntax, don't really like that structure. Personally, I also don't really like it. It doesn't really make sense why one capital letter starting in the function name makes it publicly available, but whatever. Zig makes it a little bit more explicit with the introduction of this pub keyword. So you can see here in the example they have, which is very similar to the one we have, they have just const user struct, and then when they import that in a register.zig file, you can see here that user is not marked public, so it's undefined, so there's an error. So if you go back and just put the pub keyword in front of the const user, this now works fine because now this user struct is publicly available. And if you're keen, you're probably thinking, well, does that make all the methods publicly available? No, it does not. It only makes the struct publicly available in that module import. To make every single method publicly, each and every single one is going to have the pub function declaration. You can see here func init, it's not declared, so you have to add pub function init, pub function print name into each of the functions that you want to make publicly available in different module imports. And the ones you want to make private, well, you just don't add pub to it and you'll leave them like this. And now another part of this is changing the actual fields of an instantiated self struct object. So basically, we've explored how to pass in that self struct object into method calls, and we can call those fields pretty easily. But how do we change one of the fields within it? So the book goes about the struct state, and it basically shows you that to modify the struct state, you not only have to change the const, but if you don't, the actual instantiation. So as we have it here, you can const user. If we try to modify one of the fields in a change name function, we're going to get an error because we're trying to change the field of a constant value, which you cannot do in Zig. So here I'll make a func change underscore name. We'll take me user like this, and then we'll take new name. Okay, const u8 void, and here we'll just do me dot name equals new name like so. And then I'll actually take this, paste it here, take the flush, paste it here, and we'll put something like before. We'll put me.name. Okay, and then here we'll just put, after. Save this, and here unused local constant. If I try to do this, if I do try u.change name, it'll make the new name something like Steven. Save this, go here, and if I run this, you can see here cannot assign to constant me.name new name. But if I go up and change this from a const u to var, and I save it and I go back, we get another error. And this is because the user initiated struct is still a const. So here all we have to do is change this like so. And now you can see here before Melkey and after Steven. So now this is a pointer to the user object, the self object or me object, as opposed to passing it by reference. So again, if I just remove this, save it, zig build, we get errors. If I just add it back, which is now a pointer, a reference, and you can see here, if I try u print name and I run this again, you can see that before Melkey, after Steven, and it's still Steven, meaning that we've actually changed the value of name in our user struct to the actual reference memory using a pointer as opposed to passing it by reference. Okay, that's going to be it for this video. It's a bit of a longer one. Let me know if you guys enjoyed this series. Let me know in the comment section down below if you're also learning Zig. And if you are enjoying this, if you are, subscribe, leave a comment, give a like. It helps a lot. And I'll see you guys in the next episode. Peace.